All right, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and man, oh man, the Washington Commanders have been linked to an elite forgotten edge rusher. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot he existed as well until this ESPN article linked us to him. You gotta remember, this guy was considered to be a better player than Jamar Chase and George Kittle just in 2022, not that long ago. He's also not that old, and he's going to potentially come very cheap. We're going to dive into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, and still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. I'm working on trying to get back to my 2-3 videos a day self. I'm not sure if I'm there yet, but I'm working on it, man. So make sure y'all stay tuned for all of the content. Really appreciate y'all. And without further ado, instead of wasting even more of y'all time, let's go and get to this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so all of this started when Matt Bowen of ESPN wrote an article titled 2025 NFL Free Agency Best Team Fits for the Top 50 Players. So off rip, Matt Bowen of ESPN is considering the guy that we're talking about a top 50 free agent out of the entire NFL. Like, that's already there. And again, we're going to talk about later how this player was considered a top 30-something player back in that, out of the entire NFL, not just free agents, but out of the entire NFL, free agent, non-free agent, just everybody included was a top 30-something player just back in 2022. But either way, in this article, not only are we matched up with the player that we're going to discuss for the majority of this video, but also the #1 player on his free agency big board, wide receiver T. Higgins from the Bengals. He also said best team fit, the Washington Commanders. He said the Commanders compare Higgins with Terry McLaurin to give quarterback Jaden Daniels two true difference makers on the perimeter. At 6'4", 219 pounds, Higgins can win at all three levels of the route tree in offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury's system. I agree. And with 23 career red zone touchdown catches, he would be a top target for Daniels close to the end zone. Injuries limited him to 12 games in 2024, yet he finished with 73 receptions for 911 yards. And y'all already know how I feel. I'm not going out there and saying we need to go ahead and bring over, trade for, sign whoever, or even draft guys that have like ridiculous injury histories. Like, I'm not just saying go out there and just go sign everybody that has an injury history and we can fix them all. But I am saying we got 20 games out of Zach Ertz last year. And a lot of people were looking at us crazy for signing Zach Ertz. Even a lot of Commanders fans were looking at the fact that we signed Zach Ertz like, man, he might give you half a season. Well, not only did he do more than that, he played 20 games. And I shout out to like Dan Quinn and the whole training staff, medical staff, for having Zach Ertz not practice any Wednesdays all season. Whatever they did, even beyond that, behind the scenes, whatever they did, worked. Bobby Wagner, even though he got hurt at one point, played in every single game. And so I just feel like we do have the staff, the coaching staff, medical staff, training, physical therapy staff, whatever we got going on as a mix of people that somehow get the best out of these guys health-wise and durability-wise. So a guy like T. Higgins, even though he has been fairly injury-prone during his time with the Bengals since they drafted him, I believe that maybe you can get more games out of him for Washington than he has with the Bengals. Because I guess we just set up an environment to where guys just somehow stay healthy. I don't know. I love it, though. It's a great thing to have. I feel like this is one of the most underrated reasons why we are a top free agency destination. So I'm pretty sure that players look at that. Players have to notice, wow, Zach Ertz at that age, and after just being labeled injury prone from his last couple of years at Arizona, and now he's playing 20 games and contributing. He's the second leading receiver. Like, I know other team players around the NFL are like, well, if they could do that with Zach Ertz, imagine what they could do with me, type of thing. Especially, I'm younger, I'm more athletic. Why couldn't I be able to go over there and ball out as well? But either way, back to the main point. At number 17, out of all free agents available, they have Hassan, Reddick, edge rusher, and best team fit Washington Commanders. Just to let you know, on this list, he's above guard Will Freeze, cornerback Byron Murphy, guard Zach Martin, but he just retired, safety Tyler Noah Hafangu, who I really like, cornerback Carlton Davis, linebacker Nick Bolton, who I really like as well, wide receiver Stephon Diggs, just to name a few. Mekhi Becton, Amari Cooper, Aaron Jones, Mike Hilton, Kevin Zeitler, Darius Slade, some quality free agents out there. They feel like Hassan Reddick is above them in the free agency top available list. And when he matches us to him, best team fit Washington Commanders, he said Reddick might be looking at a short-term deal after holding out to start the 2024 season before being traded to the Jets. But and that's crazy too. I mean, he held out from the Eagles. We're going to dive into it later, but to hold out from the Eagles, then the Eagles go win a Super Bowl, you abandon ship from the Eagles to go to the Jets, and then you hold out against them as well, and you're throwing a temper tantrum there. And then the Jets go nowhere, and the Eagles just want to say, that is just crazy. But either way, but he has a history of making impact plays with 59 sacks and 18 forced fumbles over his career. And he's literally like a strip sack master. And before last season, he put together 3 straight campaigns with a pass rush win rate over 20%. Literally until this past 2024 season, he always has at least a 20% pass rush win rate. So every 5 times he's rushing the passer, he's winning. I feel like people do not understand and truly grasp how ridiculous that is. Reddick would fill a need for the Commanders on the edge, and I feel like a fit as a schemed rusher in Dan Quinn's system. If Dan Quinn can do what he did with Micah Parsons, if he can, what he did with just Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong this year, imagine what he could do with Hassan Reddick, who doesn't even need a scheme to get greatness out of him. Imagine what Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr., what they do with their scheme, where they're not lazy. They do whatever they can to put guys in the best situations to win. That's just what they're known for. Imagine if you take the talent of a Hassan Reddick that's motivated and then the scheme of a Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr. I'm telling you, I'm looking at just based off of how our front office works. Again, like we just already talked about with the medical staff and also with our coaching staff as well. When I'm looking at top free agents at different positions, I'm looking like, man, I feel like we could get best case scenario out of a lot of these guys because of the coaches that we have. And on offense, I feel like Jaden Daniels helps as well. But when I'm looking at like wide receiver free agents, I'm like, with Cliff Kingsbury as your offensive coordinator and Jaden Daniels as your quarterback, you can assume best case scenario for that guy. I'm thinking the same thing on defense under this Joe Wood Jr. and Dan Quinn system, especially with a guy like Hassan Reddick. And then shouts out to Dean Jones of Rico's Rag because he brings up good points. He said the respected general manager of Adam Peters will know how important this recruitment period is for the Commanders. And mind you, everywhere Adam Peters has been, he's had elite edge rushers. With his time with the Broncos when they won that Super Bowl 50 with Peyton Manning, he was a super passenger of that team. He was, if anything, holding them back, honestly. That defense carried them all the way to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl, but he had Von Miller in his prime. Then with the 49ers, he's always had Nick Bosa and a slew of great defensive linemen while he was there with the 49ers. I'm pretty sure he wants to create the same thing here as well. He knows how important the trenches are. Great offensive lines, great defensive lines wins championships. That's why he's won a Super Bowl ring everywhere he's gone, or at least gone to the Super Bowl, at least as an important high-ranking talent evaluator everywhere he's been. And even like Bill Belichick gave him credit as a scout back with the Patriots. But either way, continuing with what Dean Jones said, if he can hit on the majority of acquisitions, there'll be a trendy Super Bowl pick in 2025. Finding players who can generate pressure consistently is key. I agree. The Commanders trod water with the options available in 2024, but that won't be enough to get over the hump. Speculation regarding a trade for Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett remains rampant. I say go do it. Even so, Peters might decide that the compensation attached will jeopardize his chances of building a complete roster, which I can kind of understand, but I'm still like, please go get me Myles Garrett if you can. There are several other intriguing options to consider. It's also worth remembering that this is a deep draft class for edge rushers that fits into Peters' ethos, so expect the front office leader to take advantage of that at some stage as well. And then enters Hassan Reddick. Reddick was traded to the Jets before the 2024 campaign, but it didn't take long for the relationship to sour. The Temple product wanted a new long-term deal that he had thought was a prerequisite to the trade happening. To be honest, to be fair to him, I'm assuming that he thought that, he's holding out against the Eagles. He doesn't want to play for the Eagles because they're not giving him money. Okay, so the Jets come in and they're like, we'll trade for you. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure most of us assume that the Jets traded for him knowing that they would give him a big time contract extension and give him the money that he's looking for. And then they never did. So honestly, Hassan Reddick may not necessarily be the one that's in the wrong here, but he gambled on himself and it did not work out at all. Continuing with Dean Jones, those in power had other ideas, which led to a holdout that lasted until week 8 of the 2024 season. He came back into the fold, but the Jets season was already in free fall. He came back at a bad time. The Jets already realized this is over. Already there's turmoil. I mean, back in training camp before the season even started, Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers already had beef. And then Aaron Rodgers went and traded for his best friend in Devontae Adams, which made the friction between him and Garrett Wilson even worse. And then they were losing games. Not only were they losing games, they would be winning in the fourth quarter, losing games. Like, it was just like the most heart-wrenching season as a Jets fan. And so Reddick missed so much football that he never really got up to speed. In 57% of the team's defensive snaps from the last 10 games of the season, 2 of which he started. He only started in 2 out of 10 games that he played. And again, he missed the other 7 before then. He attained nothing more than 1 sack, 14 tackles, and 7 pressures, according to Pro Football Reference. That's a good way to lose a ton of money. Reddick will still have a market, but as Bowen stated, it will probably be a short-term deal in pursuit of galvanizing his career. He's going to have to sign somewhat of like a 1-year prove-it deal to show people and prove it to people that I still got it. I'm still the Hassan Reddick that you know from 2022. We're going to dive into that later. But even shouts out to NFL Rumors because they pointed out the fact that former Philadelphia Eagles linebacker Hassan Reddick, his whole plan was an epic fail. Everything that he tried to do with the Eagles, with the Jets, didn't work out. Reddick lost $12.2 million during his holdout, and his former team ended up winning the Super Bowl. Reddick is expected to sign a lower tier contract around. I think he's personally worth the gamble, especially since right now SpotTrack has his calculated market value at $11.7 million per year. Basically like a quick 1 year, less than $12 million deal just to see what you still got. Just to see if you have any of 2022 left in the tank, or even give me some 2023, because he wasn't even that bad in 2023. We'll get to that later. So Hassan Reddick, picture this. Let's do a scenario. How about Hassan Reddick with character concerns? We'll see if he's motivated enough, even though I think joining a Super Bowl contender that's led by Jaden Daniels and how great of an organization we are from top to bottom, front office, coaching staff, players, and everything, leaders all across the board. I think he would get his act together for us. But still, there's character concerns there. We can't ignore those. But he only costs a potential $12 million per year per SpotTrack at 31 years old. Because he's 30 right now, but he'll turn 31 in September. Or would you prefer Khalil Mack at 34 years old, 3 years older, for nearly double per year at $23.6 million per year, according to SpotTrack? Older and double expensive, but at the same time far more dependable. You don't have to worry about Khalil Mack character concerns. There's a certain floor there, because even last year, as of 2024, Khalil Mack was arguably the best run-stopping, edge-setting edge rusher in the entire NFL, and he still had a great pressure rate. He just wasn't able to convert it to sacks like he normally does season per season. And again, under Dan Quinn and Joey Jr., I think he would go immediately back to getting like 12 plus sacks a season with us. But either way, again, to compare Hassan Reddick with the character concerns, but he's 3 years younger to Khalil Mack and half as expensive as Khalil Mack. And just to warn y'all though, the entire edge rusher market is expected to blow up. Like, everybody that even ever puts a hand on an offensive tackle as a defensive player plans on asking for crazy money this offseason, according to a lot of NFL insiders from ESPN everywhere. Everybody's like, hey, yo, watch out. Whatever you're predicting edge rushers to get this offseason, add a little bit more to it. That's probably what's going to happen. And so then even like a Josh Sweat from the Philadelphia Eagles, he was really good this season. He's expected to get $18.8 million per year as a salary. That's nearly $19 million per year. Again, compared to Hassan Reddick, that's predicted to get $12 million per year. And Hassan Reddick at his best is better than Josh Sweat at his best, but Josh Sweat has shown us as recently as 2024 that he's still really good. He clearly still has it. And Josh Sweat is only 27 years old, and his birthday is in March, so that's it. Like, he's going to be 27 throughout this entire next season. Or if you don't like Hassan Reddick, if you don't like Myles Garrett, if you don't even like Josh Sweat, then maybe you're considering trading for like a Myles Garrett or a Trey Hendrickson or even a Max Crosby. And don't get me wrong, they will be worth every penny. But if you trade for either one of them, you'll probably have to give them new contracts to get up to probably like $37 million per year. That's going to be more expensive than Hassan Reddick and Khalil Mack combined just for one player. Because you got to think about it. Nick Bosa is at the top of the NFL edge rusher salary hierarchy right now with a 5-year, $170 million deal that's averaging $34 million per year. And he's injury prone, that he received from the 49ers right before the start of the 2023 season. The deal has a non-quarterback record of $122.5 million in overall guarantees and $88 million fully guaranteed at signing. The highest paid non-quarterback is Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson. He signed a 4-year, $140 million extension last June, averaging $35 million per year with $110 million in guarantees, of which $88.743 million was fully guaranteed at signing. The $88.743 million is the most ever fully guaranteed for a signing of a non-quarterback ever in NFL history. A new Garrett deal should easily top Jefferson's deal of $35 million per year. The contract Garrett signed in 2020 was at a 6.38% increase over the top non-existing quarterback who was the highest paid at the time in 2020 when he signed that contract. So they're expecting a similar increase this time around, which would put Garrett going from Jamar Chase's $35 million as a reference point up to $37.25 million per year. So if you were to trade for either Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, or Max Crosby, you're going to probably end up paying somewhere at least north of $35 million, somewhere at least at the same level as Jamar Chase's contract or even more, like we just discussed. I mean, even look at Chase Young. Going back to the free agency market, Chase Young, according to SpotTrack, is estimated to get a $17.5 million annual salary. They're thinking he's going to get $17.5 million per year in a new 4-year deal up to $70 million. Just to let you know, again, to revisit, Hassan Reddick is expected to get less than $12 million. Chase Young is expected to get nearly $18 million. Just to let you know, and SpotTrack did these projections before the NFL insiders came out and said that they expect the edge rusher market to blow up even more than what we expected, even before that whole increase in salary cap that we were just notified about a few days ago. So these people may get even more than what they're expected and projected by SpotTrack right now. So then does Hassan Reddick at nearly $12 million per year sound a little bit more appealing right now? Especially since he was one of the best edge rushers in the NFL just a couple of years ago, before all of the weird antics that he pulled to try to get more money, and then he was deceived by the Jets and all of that. The Jets did a lot of people wrong, so I don't even really blame him for that, which ultimately backfired in a huge way for him. But remember, I mean, in 2023, just before the previous season, he had a 75.2 overall defensive grade and a 75.2 pass rush grade. And then when it came to 2022, arguably the best year of his entire career, he had an 81.1 Pro Football Focus grade overall and a 90 pass rush grade. One of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL. I mean, Pro Football Focus, you know, at the end of every year, they do their PFF 101, highlighting the top 101 players from the 2022 season specifically. Hassan Reddick was 38th. They said one of the free agent signings of the season. Reddick ended up with 87 total pressures, including the playoffs. He recorded 19 pressures in 3 postseason games and was one of the most consistent speed rush threats in the league all year. He was ranked above Jamar Chase and George Kittle, who were 39 and 40th respectively. And then you have Levante David, Minka Fitzpatrick, Tua Tagovailoa in his best season, Derek Brown, Jordan Mailata, Aaron Donald. He was ranked above those names as recently as 2022. And again, 2023, he still had a really good season, which is why he thought he deserved more money than what the Philadelphia Eagles were willing to give him. And then all of that craziness happened. Or maybe, hey, if you don't prefer Hassan Reddick, maybe you prefer my Georgia dog, Azeez Ojulari, who is basically like a young Dante Fowler, I would compare him to. And, you know, he would be cheaper than Hassan Reddick or any other person that we've talked about all day today so far in this video. I mean, Azeez Ojulari is expected to only command less than $8 million per year in a new contract, and he's not even 25 25 yet. He'll be 25 in June, which means he'll be 25 by the time the season starts. But I mean, that's still really young. That's the youngest player out of anybody we've talked about in this video. That's even younger than Chase Young, mind you. So maybe you want to go that route. And while we're mentioning Dante Fowler, to be honest with you, no matter who we get in free agency, like even if we do trade for Myles Garrett, I'd still bring back Dante Fowler, especially for like a really cheap deal. Spot Track is estimating that he'll only get a $5.2 million deal. Like they're seeing him signing a 3-year, nearly $16 million deal for about $5.2 million annually. That's not bad at all. So again, I'll bring back Dante Fowler. Even if you do go get a Hassan Reddick or a Khalil Mack, I'll still bring back Dante Fowler for that cheap. Yes, sir, most certainly. But all in all, to basically end the video, I'm personally down for a Hassan Reddick flyer. Me personally, if and only if though, if he comes as cheap as expected, as Spot Track is projecting. I truly believe he still has some great edge rusher play left in him, and we need as much as we can get, dog. Like, our edge rusher situation is so bad, on top of the fact that I don't think we'll be able to get an elite emphasis on day one, game one, like week one, contributing edge rusher at pick 29 in the first round. So on top of that, the fact that we pick so late and then just due to positional value, how positional value works, edge rushers, if you're any great, like if you have any sort of, you know, maybe you can get like a high potential guy with a low floor that's not ready, that's raw. Maybe you can get that type of guy at 29. But if you want a guy that you know for certain week one is going to come out and do immediate damage for us at the edge rusher position, I just don't necessarily think you're going to get him at pick 29. So you need to hit edge rusher hard in free agency. So I feel like I would go and sign Hassan Reddick and Khalil Mack in the same free agency. Like, I feel like we need edge rusher that bad. And then best case scenario, you know, just hear me out. Khalil Mack gives us 2 great years before his play diminishes. Just sign him to a 1-year contract this offseason and then sign him to another one, which is what I'm basically hoping we do with Bobby Wagner. We sign him to a 1 year in 2024. Hopefully we'll sign him to a 1 year in 2025, and that'll probably be it. I can see something like that with Khalil Mack playing out. And then on Hassan Reddick, on his end, he balls out this year to the point that we sign him to the money that he wants on an extension to where he balls out for like the next 4 years or something for us. I know that's not very likely at all, but I truly believe that Hassan Reddick will get his act together on a true Super Bowl contender like us, led by Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn and these guys. Like, they wouldn't go for whatever the Jets had going over there with the circus that they had with Aaron Rodgers and all of those comedians on that team and things like that. And then this route would also allow us to draft a non-first round edge rusher this upcoming draft or whatever upcoming draft soon afterwards, and then give them time to develop into elite edge rushers. We wouldn't have to reach on a guy that we can, and then we would have to force him to play day one, week one, because we have such a needed edge rusher. If you go and get me Hassan Reddick and Khalil Mack for not a lot of money combined, in, you know, in retrospect compared to what other edge rushers are getting, and I think you can still get great play out of those guys. I know they sound like band-aids to a lot of people, but I truly think Hassan Reddick still has a lot left in the tank, and I think Khalil Mack is still one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. I just feel like the Chargers as a whole, just, I mean, outside of my Georgia dog lad McConkey, it wasn't much to be really proud of for them this season. So I think we can really turn things around with them. And again, most importantly, the reason that I want to get guys like that is because we're trying to win right now while also building towards the future. Give me Khalil Mack and Hassan Reddick as your starting edge rushers this year, and then whatever you got to do, if you know, draft an edge rusher maybe in like the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round, and then they're like one of those high ceiling guys that's still raw, and maybe by the time Khalil Mack and Hassan Reddick are done, or at the, you know, Khalil Mack assuming he'll be done before Hassan Reddick, by the time he's done within a year or two, hopefully that edge rusher that you took in like the 3rd round or later is now ready to step up and be a true dominant edge rusher, opposite of maybe Hassan Reddick or whoever else. I just feel like, give us time. You know what I'm saying? Again, I don't think with the 29th pick in the 1st round, we're going to find a guy that can start day one. So give me Khalil Mack, Hassan Reddick, or whatever other combination of 2 edge rushers, because I feel like we need edge rushers so bad. We need 2 of them free agency or trade for one, whatever. And then you can go get a guy later that you can develop and turn into the successor to a Khalil Mack when he's finally eventually done. I feel like that's my favorite best case scenario. Of course, football things don't ever go as planned, that things don't ever work out that easily, but that's my best case scenario, and that's what I'm hoping for right there, if you're wondering how I feel about this edge rusher situation. So yes, give me Hassan Reddick, but I'm like, give me Hassan Reddick and Khalil Mack. Give me both. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Really appreciate y'all, man. I mean, if you made it this far in the video, if you're still watching me right now, I salute you, man. Really appreciate you for that. And also make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like. And of course, most importantly, please make sure y'all get in that comment section and let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Do you want to sign Hassan Reddick? If you don't want to sign Hassan Reddick, who else do you want to get instead of him, and like how much money are you willing to give those players? Because remember, we have other needs as well, so we can't spend all of our money on edge rusher. But do you prefer to trade for a Myles Garrett or Trey Hendrickson or Max Crosby? Or even if you are willing to assign Hassan Reddick in free agency, do you want to go sign somebody else at edge rusher as well? Or do you actually believe we can get a true difference maker at edge rusher in the draft, 29th overall, and they're ready to contribute immediately day one, to the point that we don't need to go get a Hassan Reddick in free agency? Let me know how y'all feel about this whole edge rusher situation. How would y'all fix edge rusher? So let me know that in the comment section. I'm gonna try my best to find some time to read and reply to everybody as much as I can in the comment section. I really be trying, man. I've just been super all over the place. Like, I have friends getting married. I've been everywhere, man. I don't think y'all understand. That's why I haven't been doing like 2-3 videos a day. So I've been all over the place, but I promise you, once I finally sit down to get some time, y'all are gonna get 2-3 videos a day. Because again, it's not a matter of ideas. I have windows all over the place. I have this app called Session Buddy that I use in Google Chrome, where I have so many tabs open, I'm having to save them and close them out for later. And I'm like, okay, when I finally get time, I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that. So it's not a matter of not having enough content. It's just not having the time. So 2-3 videos a day. Rico is on the way at some point. I just got to find the time to do it. So I really appreciate y'all again. Make sure y'all leave a like and before you dip up out of here, and I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.